Hi there and welcome to another PSD Tuts spoon-fed Photoshop tutorial. I'm Gavin Steele, and in today's tutorial I'm going to take you through how to create a flying land illustration on fire. And this is done by Constantin, and this is one of those tutorials where all of the steps are perfectly laid out for you in the tutorial, and if you read through it, check out the screenshots, there's no reason why you won't be able to follow this and create some really great effects. So do check out the tutorial. It's a joy to follow, and all the files are linked to as well. So again, head over to each of those links, check out the images that we're going to be using, and so on. We've got some cool dragons there and some fire and stuff like that. So the final image we're going to try and create is this little city that's on fire on this floating island, I guess, with some dragons in the background and some pretty cool lava effects and breaking up of our cliff. So let me show you what I came up with. Here we go. Looks fairly similar. I've got two of the dragons on here, and let's just zoom in on this area down here. We've got our lava, the breakaway bits, we've got our city and the dragons on top and some light and so on. So that's what we're going to be trying to create, and I'm just going to minimize this down. And the first file that we're going to need is our Sky1 file, which is this file right here, the Heavens 2 I think it's called. So open up that file. I've duplicated it down here, and this is going to be our main canvas. We're just going to use this. So let me bring it all into the screen area there. There we go. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to apply the first of many layer adjustments. Okay, throughout the whole tutorial there's some really great layer adjustments that kind of tie in all the pieces together. So make sure you either listen and go along or check them out over the original tutorial. The first of these is going to be a color balance layer. So head up to layer, new adjustment layer, and hit color balance. And we're going to set this, our shadows, to 12, -9, and -17. Our midtones, we're going to set those to 72, -17, and -59. And then finally our highlights, 44, 15, and then -15. And click on OK. And that's going to give us a general, mood and tone of our image. Quite red and quite dark as well. Now, if you want to crop out this area at the top, we can do that now. In fact, let me just zoom right out so we can see. Just to get rid of that little wing area. And then we can come straight back in. Okay, so once we've done that new adjustment layer, we're going to add another one. So back up to layer, new adjustment layer, and this time we're going to add brightness and contrast, and we're going to set that to -12 and a contrast of 33, and click on OK. We're going to add a curves, so a curves layer, head up to new adjustment layer and curves, and click on OK. And we're going to set that to about 113. Something like that. And let's bring this over. And let's have a look at what that's doing. So we're just darkening up this area. Okay. We're mainly looking at this bottom left area down here. Click on OK, and then what we're going to do is we're going to fill our layer mask with black. So grab the bucket tool, we're in our layer mask area over here, and we're just going to fill that in. So now we can't see it, we've blacked it out. Change the brush to white, and then a nice big soft brush, like 300 pixels, something like that. We're just going to bring back some of that dark area from our curves level, and we're going to bring back into our bottom area down here. So I'm actually going to use a slightly bigger brush and just darken off some of this area down here. up into these clouds and the side. Like so. And you'll see that over in a layer mask right there. Okay, so once you've done that, you've painted over your left corner. The next thing we need to do is open up our mountain image. And that's this image here. Now you need to cut it out from its background and stick it on a new layer. Just use the pen tool for that. Zoom in and just go around all of the points. Right click on it, make it a selection, and then create a new layer from that. And V, I'm just going to drag that straight into our piece. Get that out of the way. And then I'm going to transform it. I'm going to turn it upside down. It's going to be at a bit of an angle here. And I think the size isn't too bad. I'm just going to scale it just a little bit. Bring it down like so. In fact, I'm not going to change the scale. I think the size is pretty good. Let's just okay, bring that down. There we go, and then hit enter. Okay. Excuse me. And we're going to call this, by double clicking on our layer, Island. And we're going to add 5 adjustment layers to this. The first one, and we need to make sure all of them are clipped to our island layer, and it's really easy to do that. But the first one we're going to do is brightness and contrast. So head up to layer, new adjustment layer, brightness and contrast, and we're just going to tick this box here. Use the previous layer to create clipping mask. And basically what that's saying is any of these changes we make are only going to apply to that layer below, not to the image as a whole. So click on OK, and we're going to set this to 5 and 64. Okay, next we're going to do color balance. So new adjustment layer, color balance. Again, tick that box, click on OK. Start with the shadows, and 36, 8, and -8. Then our midtones, we're going to set these to 48, 19, and -15. And the highlights, I'm going to set to 36, 19, and 27. And then click on OK. And you can see we're starting to tie this into our background here. Now we're going to apply a photo filter. So layer, new adjustment layer, photo filter. Again, clipping, and set this to color. We're going to use that, but we're going to change the percentage to about 36. Just boost that a little bit. Click on OK. We're going to set the layer to overlay, and it's going to really darken that, and we're going to bring down the opacity down to 50%. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a gradient map. So again, layer, new adjustment layer, and gradient map. And we're going to set that to reverse, and then first color we're going to use is FFEED and 4. We're going to have a middle color. Set that to C5 B1 99. And finally our end color is going to be set to 3532. Oops, 3532. 2D. Click on OK, OK, and OK. Make sure you had that set to reverse. Set that to soft light, and again we're going to reduce that down to 60%. Okay, now we're going to select this area up here at the top, so I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. It's a little bit too much. And I'm going to grab the lasso tool, and we're going to come around this area, around here where this little jagged area is, and we're going to apply some contrast to that. So just going to come straight across the top. Okay, and finish, and then we're going to go to new layer, brightness and contrast, and we're going to set that to minus 103 and 63. And click on OK. And we've just darkened that area a little bit. Now I could have been a little bit sharper with my selection there. So I'm just going to go back, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit and just try and get just a little bit better. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but just want to get this edge. Okay, I don't know if that was any better, but we'll give it a go. New layer, adjustment layer, brightness and contrast. And it was 103, excuse me, minus 103 by 63. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to hold down Command and we're going to select our island layer. And actually, if we click on our top layer, hold down Shift and select all of those, and then hit Command G, we're going to group those together. And we're going to call them island. And that's our island pretty much done. We're going to play around with a few bits of lava towards the end, but that's pretty much setting the colour for the overall piece. Now, if we just zoom in on these areas down here, we've got a little bit of haloing around the edge of our selection here, a few little bits down here, it's little white areas. You can just see on the edges. Now we could go around and cut those out with the eraser, and again it wouldn't take too long because of the nature of the object. Any jagged lines would just look like parts of the rock. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer above all of them inside our island layer, and we're going to command click on our island layer, and then we're going to with a brush, and let's set the color to 140403, that's fine. Click on OK, and then just bring down the size a little bit of the brush, and we're just going to paint over the sides just a little bit, just to darken them off. Not only is that going to get rid of the white, but it's going to add a little bit of shadow there. Okay, and that's pretty much done that. Now for the bits which are a little bit harder to get rid of, like these little bits here that have darkened, but they're still persistent, still really light, I'm just going to grab the eraser tool and I'm just going to come back down to our island layer and just get rid of those. So that's okay, those areas here will just darken a bit, and that side's pretty good too. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on our island group, and we're going to go to layer, new layer mask, reveal all, and then we're going to select soft black brush, and we're going to paint over the right side to delete the stroke down the right side down here, just to, oops, okay, just these little bits in here, and again it's probably better if I zoom in. This is just another way as well of getting rid of these little edges. Brush brush a little bit too big there. It's another nice method just to get rid of the edges and the haloing. Okay, and let's zoom out. Right, so let's select the island layer itself, and we're going to go to Filter, Noise, and Reduce Noise. And let's bring that over. And we're going to have that set so it's on Basic, Default, 10, 3, 6, and 14. And click on OK, and it's just going to smooth out that layer for us. Okay, and that is our island. We're going to bring in our city now and a little church on the top, or castle, and we're going to start to play around with that. So let's bring that up, and you can see it again. I've already cut that out. Great picture here. I'm not sure where this is, but this is going to be our castle, and I've just cut out that layer, put it onto a new layer, and we're just going to bring it straight into our document and bring it right up to the top for now. And we're going to scale that down. Okay, and then just going to position that. We're looking at this edge and this edge here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now if you look at the background, and this happened to me before, when I brought in that image, it's messed up all of our clipping masks by mistake. Now all you need to do is hold down Alt and just come back and apply the clipping mask by clicking in between each of those layers, and you're going to get that back. That was my fault because I didn't select the topmost layer before I brought in our new image of this castle. So let's zoom in a bit closer because we're going to be working on this castle. Not that close. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a new layer mask, a reveal all. Okay, and then with a black soft brush we're going to erase the bottom part, these hard edges that we've got from our selection. So a nice black brush, and you can create a bit of a path up as well if you want. I'm just going to get rid of these. Okay, like so. Don't worry about these bits here, they kind of add a bit of depth, like some of the land's broken away down the side here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 7 adjustment layers now to our castle, again to tie it in with the background, and then we're going to play around with some of the stuff going on around it. So the first thing we're going to add is a color balance. So let's close this layer down, this group. We're going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, and color balance. Make sure you clip it to the layer so again doesn't apply it to all the layers below. And we're going to start with shadows. We're going to set that to 36, 8, -8. Then we're going to go to midtones, set your midtones to 48, 19, minus 15, and the highlights we're going to set to 36, 19, and 27. Okay, once you've done our color balance, we're going to head to photo filter. So new adjustment layer, photo filter. Oh, my microphone cord's getting caught. It's a bit annoying. Okay, use clipping mask, click on OK, and this time we're going to set color 36 again. Set that to overlay. It's going to really darken it and reduce that down to 50%. Then we're going to add a gradient mask. And use previous layer. And we're going to set this to soft light eventually, but let's choose our colors again. We could have saved that gradient map earlier on. Could have speeded things up a little bit. FFEED4, and the middle one, set that to C5 B199, and then that last color, that not quite black, was 35322D. And click on OK. And like I said, we're going to set that to soft light and 30%. Okay, now we're going to add some light to the side of our castle. So we're determining that there's going to be some light coming from here, the right hand side, and our dark side is going to be all of this left hand side over here. So we're going to add some curves, a curves layer. So let's go to layer, new adjustment layer, curves, clip that, and let's bring this along to about there. That looks pretty good. Okay, so we've really lightened up that right hand side, and then we're going to click on OK, fill that layer mask, and then with a big soft white brush we're going to bring it back over the bits that we want. So we pretty much want it over all of the houses down here, all up this side. We're going to come down here, it's going to catch some of the light, come up the side, but not all of this tower, so we're just going to leave this bit over here, and we're going to come down with all of that. Okay. Then we're going to add the shadow, the left hand side. So again, we're going to go to layer, new adjustment layer, curves, click on OK, and we're going to play around with these curves. We're going to make them darker, so we're going to bring this up to about 160 and then down to about 120, something like that. And that's pretty dark. Click on OK, fill that layer again with black, and grab your white brush, and we're going to paint in the bits that we want dark. So this area over here, the top of our steeple here, yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Right, now we're going to do some brightness and contrast. So back up to layer, new adjustment layer, brightness and contrast. And we're going to set that to minus 144 and 95. Click on OK. Fill that mask as well, this time with black. And then we're going to paint white over some of the areas that we really want to have a lot of contrast. So this area up here we can darken right out. Let's not get that bit there. So this back wall, come down through here. Now see these bits of red that are breaking, they're going to help with our lava later on, but we're really just darkening this area. It also going to make it look a little bit singed. We're going to have our dragon maybe burning this side of the building, but that looks pretty good for now. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we're going to group all of these layers together now. I'm just going to darken this layer down here a bit as well. This area over these houses, that edge. It's just going to get caught by the light. And this area goes right out. Now I'm going to reduce the opacity of that layer just a touch. Okay. So group all those layers. We've got the top one selected there, all the way down to our bottom. Command G or Control G is going to group those. Let's double click on the name and let's call it Castle. Right, next thing that we need to do is in our in a new layer, we're gonna with a black brush, we're gonna paint over the bottom half of this image here, just to touch up this area. It doesn't quite tie in, I don't think, with the left-hand side. So what we need to do is just create a new layer at the top of all of those with a black brush. Just gonna paint over these houses. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the opacity right down to about 50%. It's just going to darken that corner as if that's, you know, leaning around to that darker area. Create a new layer, and we're going to command click on our castle layer right at the bottom of this stack here. So we've got that selected, and then with a black brush we're going to set it to soft light. We're going to brush this left hand side. So we've got our brush selected, make it nice and big. Just bring that across, set it to soft light, and then reduce the opacity once again down to about 50, 45, something like that, and deselect. And that looks pretty good. Okay, we're going to move on to our dragons now, so I'm going to close our castle group down. Let's zoom out, see how we're getting on with that. It looks pretty good. So let's go get our dragons. So the dragons come on this TIFF file. Just going to bring this down. We're going to use this guy to start with. I'm just going to grab selection tool, go around the white, and I came up with this, and these two layers I just double checked what I'd selected by putting a black layer behind it, making sure I hadn't missed anything out. V on the keyboard, drag that layer in, and I can minimize that down. We're going to flip him around first, so flip him horizontally, get him over here, and we're going to shrink him right down considerably. And we're going to think about how we're going to position him. So we're going to move him below our castle layer. Okay, and just zoom in just a little bit, and spacebar to move around. And we want to position him just coming up like so. That's pretty good. So his fire is going to be attacking this next. And let's zoom out. And he looks pretty good in there. He doesn't quite look like he's part of the scene just yet. So again, we've got to play around with some layer adjustments. First of all, let's call him Dragon 1. Stick him in a group. And let's go back to our Dragon 1 layer. Now once you've cut him out and you've scaled him, we're going to go to Filter, Blur. In fact, before we do that, let's turn him into a smart object. So right click, convert to smart object. Then we're going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. We're going to set that to 2 pixels. Click on OK. And then we're going to fill in the layer mask from our smart filter with black. And then with a white brush, we're going to paint over our wings to bring the blur back just for the wings. So they're the only bits that are going to give us any real movement. Like so. And you could do just the tip of his tails if he's maybe just moved his tail or something like that. Okay, so once we've done our filter, we're going to go on to these different adjustment layers. Brightness and contrast first, layer, new adjustment layer, brightness and contrast. We're going to clip it because we're working on our dragon layer. And we're going to set that to -57 and 40. Next up, we're going to do some curves. Layer, new adjustment layer, and curves. Okay, and we're going to just bend this middle straight up to about 137, 138, something like that. Click on OK. And then we're going to fill that mask with black. And then with a white brush, we're going to mask out the areas that we want. So we want that lightness on the top of the wing up here. The head area. And the right hand. They're just catching the light, so the other bits stay nice and dark. Okay, we've put all those in a group. Let's close that down, and that is Dragon 1 done. Next up, we're going to create our lava. So we're going to go to Layer, New Group. I'm going to call this Lava. Set the blend mode for the group to color dodge. Okay, create a new layer inside that group, and on that new layer we're going to apply some layer styles. So first one we're going to do is outer glow. Make sure you select it and have it highlighted. We're going to set that to color dodge. We're going to have it set to 75.0, change the color to bright red. We're going to have it set to softer, 0, reduce the pixel size down to 3. Everything else is fine. Inner glow, we're going to set to normal. 51 for our opacity. 0, and then yellow. But we're going to change it to a bright yellow, not that dull yellow. Softer edge, 0, 5, that's all fine. 50 and 0. Click on OK, and then set that layer to overlay. Now what we need to do is we need to paint in our lava. So let's move around and zoom in. So if you look at the actual rock itself, you're going to see that there are lots of little grooves and things like that going up and down the side, like down here, and you're kind of looking for a natural flow of the lava. Where's it going to come from? So select white, select a brush, nice and small, 2-3 pixels, something like that, and just play around with drawing on your lava. So there's a big vein coming down the side down here. I'm using my Wacom tablet to try and get a good line, and that's going to come down like so. Maybe it's split just here. It's a big vein here. and just change the brush size between 2 and 1. 2 and 3. Just coming up the side like so. Think about how they're going to flow down, feed into each other, and all of that kind of stuff. And basically you're just painting them as, you know, as you see fit, as you see it. Okay, a couple more over. Okay, and then we're going to do a couple more, but we're going to do these right inside our castle. We're going to have them coming, flowing over and out of here. So it's going to come down, hit that roof. Flow down like so. And again, this isn't perfect. This is, you know, it's however you want it to look, how you want it to flow. Okay, have a couple coming out of these windows. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, and let's zoom out. And then we're going to grab a quick layer mask on that. Black brush. And then just this top area at the top. This area up here, just paint a little bit, and we're just going to shade using the edge of that brush just to darken some of these lines. Oops. As we come down. So I'm not rubbing the actual brush right onto the layer itself, I'm just at the side of it. Just darken them just a touch at the tops. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Okay, now we're going to do a few little bits of lava down the bottom, and they're going to be just falling off, so they're going to need to be a little bit bigger. So come off the layer mask. Like so. Okay, and then finally we're going to do our breaking apart effect on the side for this. So just close our lava group. We're going to come down to our castle, our island layer, sorry, not our castle layer, island layer. We're going to duplicate that group. We're going to right click on the duplicated group. We're going to convert that to a smart object. Bring that right to the top of all of the other layers. And then we're going to call that breaking apart. And it's just going to be for a visual reference. We're going to grab the lasso tool. On that layer, we're going to grab, let's zoom in just a bit, grab the lasso, and on that layer, just select a little bit, Command C, Command V, V, move it down, come back to that layer, L for lasso, grab a smaller bit, Command copy, Command V, V, and just start to slowly just chop up. Oops, that's what happens when you're on the wrong layer. Command C, Command V, V, excuse me, just to move it, and then come back to the layer, L for lasso, get another little bit, just move that over, and just take your time. Just going to move these bits as if they're falling. Okay, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, so the bits I select are going to be slightly smaller. So I want some really small bits, because they really help when you zoom out to kind of sell the illusion of okay. So these two little boulders are broken away. I know those bits don't look like much, but they really do help, as if they're like little particles just coming off. Okay, a couple more. So again, all I'm pressing, I'm clicking on the layer that I want to take it from. L for lasso, lasso a tiny little bit, Command C, Command V, and then V to move it into place. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, selecting that last one I just did and the top one, I'm going to group those and call those left. Going to come down to the bottom down here, and again do something very, very similar. Grab these chunks. Okay, and then let's just zoom out just a little bit and see how this is looking. And see, those tiny little bits, they just really do make the difference, and it really does start to look really good. And again, I'd group those together, that last little bit. Command G, maybe call that bottom. And maybe do a couple more. Let's go in and do a couple more just up the side here. So again, lasso tool, gonna grab a nice big chunk, maybe off this bit down here. again, zoom in, and let's get some of these really small bits. Because these are the bits that kind of link the two bigger bits, say, falling together. Okay, I'm going to group those together now, and we're going to call that right. Let's turn off this layer and zoom out, and let's see what we've got. That's at 50%, and it's starting to look pretty good. And that's it at 25%, but let's just zoom in just a bit. I really like this side here, it looks good. And that's basically our rocks falling down. Next thing we need to do is open up Dragon 2 and bring that on board. So bring that up, and again, I'll show you all of these dragons on this particular TIFF on a transparent background. And I just went around with the Lasso Tool to grab this one, put it on its own layer. V, let's bring him in. Bring him on top of everything for now. And there we go. Move him over to the right, Command T, we're going to transform him, flip him horizontally, and scale this guy right down. And he's going to be standing just over here on the edge. Just rotating like that, and let's zoom in. Get a better look. Yeah, that's pretty well placed. Okay, so with Dragon 2 on there, we flipped him, rotated him. Let's convert him into a smart object as well, and give him a name, Dragon 2. And we're going to head up to our adjustment layers, and we're going to play around with some of those again. So, brightness and contrast, we're going to set those, make sure you hit that clipping mask, the brightness to -29 and 73. Click on OK. And then we're going to apply some curves. So straight up 2 curves. Clip that. And we're going to set this one, just lift up the middle. That's about right. Click on OK. Fill it with black. Grab a white brush, and we're going to brush over our head. Just lighten that up, and over our wings. So they're nice and light. Okay, then we're going to go back to curves, and this time we're going to do the darker side, the shadows. So new adjustment layer, curves, clipping, yes, click on OK. And this time we're going to pull it down, just pull it straight down the middle line, about halfway down, click on OK, nice and dark. And again, fill that with black and white, and paint in over the tail, nice and dark, and our leg area. Just up a bit into the belly, that looks good. Head over to color balance, layer, new adjustment layer, and color balance. And we're going to set that to shadows, 12, 6, and 2. Midtones we're going to set to 36, -5, and -62. Finally, highlights, let's set those to 13, 2, and 38. And click on OK. Okay, looks pretty good. Stick all that stuff together, and let's group it. Call that Dragon 2. Okay, you need to grab a, now we've finished with Dragon 2, we're going to play around with the sky in the foreground, top corners, and try and create a bit of sky that's going to kind of lean towards us, or at least lead towards us. First of all, we need to download a sky image. Now I haven't got the actual sky used in the tutorial. The file wasn't linked to. I'm sure that's going to be fixed now. So I'm going to use our original sky image. So I'm just going to grab that now. Okay, I'm not sure why that hasn't come up. Let me just bring that in again. Oh, it's saying it's already loaded, but oh, I know why it's saying that. I have to quickly just resave this file as .2, and basically I was using, because I used that sky file for the start, it what I'd created had become that file, so I need to resave it as a new file name. So I'm going to bring in this original sky. On the actual tutorial, once it goes live, there might be a different file for this, but we can use this file just as well. So I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to have it just about halfway down. I'm just looking to see where this line here kind of lines up with this line here, so I can lower the opacity down. That looks pretty good, so I'm going to leave that like that. Let's bring the opacity right back up. Okay, so what are we going to do with this layer? Well, with this sky layer, we're going to use a gradient, and we're just going to get rid of this top half. So we're going to create a mask. So I'm just going to go to layer mask, reveal all, head over to the gradient tool, and set it white to black, whichever way you like to do it. I'm going to zoom out, give ourselves a bit of room. Don't worry about losing the top area. It'll be fine. Okay, so from the top, just going to bring that down like so. It needs to take a bit more than that. Okay, and then I'm just going to move that down like so. And I'm going to grab the eraser tool just really quickly, and not the eraser tool, brush tool, sorry. I'm just going to add to that just to make sure now that I've moved it afterwards I do get everything I want. So I don't want my dragon to be, or this area up here to be too affected, but I want the gradient to carry on after. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now, once we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in that image again, and we're going to overlay it, and we're going to soften out our edges. Now we just need to change this layer to color burn. Okay, and then reduce that down to 30%, like so. That's 27, let's get that to 30. And let's zoom in and have a look. We're a little bit far out here. Okay, so it's just darken these areas here, leading towards kind of add a bit of distraction in the foreground. Next thing we need to do is bring in the image one more time. So I'm going to bring that up, V, drag it straight in. This time I'm going to put it up in the top right hand corner. Like so. And I'm going to set this to overlay. And layer mask, reveal all. Excuse me. And then again with the soft brush, we're just going to take out the edges. So brush, black brush. That's just going to help. blending. Okay, and then we're going to do the same, but this time we're going to bring that over from the right and we're going to bring it in and put it on the left. So bring that in. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to use this corner area up here to kind of like join this bit across. So I'm going to stick that in there. Go to layer mask, reveal all, and then just paint in these edges. We don't need this top bit. Okay, and I'm going to set this again to just like we did before to overlay and just reduce it, the opacity just a bit. In fact, I'm going to set that to color burn this top left and see if we can darken that up and then bring the opacity right down just to add a bit more mood to the sky maybe. And just bring that across like so. And let's close that down. Okay, and we're going to head up to layer, new adjustment layer, and color balance. And we're not going to apply that. Actually, we're not going to click that. We're going to apply it to everything. We're going to set the shadow to 37 to start with, minus 19 and 9. Midtones, going to set to 59, 24 and minus 50. And highlights, we're going to set to 37, 3 and minus 22. And let's clip that after all, Alt. And just clip just to darken that layer and that mood. And I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm going to duplicate that layer. I'm going to bring it down between the layers, Alt click, and just apply it to that layer there. Okay, and just reduce the opacity, but keeping that kind of dark, surreal kind of mood on the image. Okay, now we're going to do let's group all of these together and call it sky. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new layer and we're going to fill it with black. Right click, convert it to a smart object. Then we're going to go to filter, render, and that good old lens flare. Have it set to 105mm prime, top right hand corner-ish, something like that. Click on OK. And we're going to set that, we're going to reduce to red, but if I just set that to overlay now, you can see still quite a lot of red there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to layer, layer mask, curves, click on OK, grab red, and we're going to reduce that all the way down. To our second line there, and click on OK. Now one of our just worried why all of this color's gone. If all of these if the clipping masks all seem to be broken, because all of a sudden that's applying that redness to everything. Oh, let's set that to screen. That's a lot better. That'll be why. So set that to screen, and we get this cool lens flare coming from here. It looks like the sun's maybe breaking through the clouds in the background. So we're going to apply a new adjustment layer to that, and brightness and contrast. We're almost at the end now, and we're going to apply this to all. Hang on a minute, let's turn that back on to get rid of that redness. So yeah, we're going to do layer, new adjustment layer, brightness and contrast. Don't clip it, and have that set to 35 by 21. We're going to fill the mask with black, and then with a white brush we're going to paint amazing rays from the skies. And again, I wasn't very good at this when I practiced the tutorial because I'm using my Wacom tablet. They kind of fade out. But you get these surreal. That wasn't very good. Like rays of light coming out onto the city. I'm not brilliant at it using the Wacom tablet. Play around with the different sizes, widths of the brushes, and you'll get something that you like. But you know, it's not too bad. Okay, so once you've done that, we're going to open up Sky again. So go back to that image. V, going to bring that back. And this time, which bit clouds am I going to use? I'm going to use the middle parts here. We're going to do a layer mask, and we're going to do hide all. And then we're going to select a white brush, and I'm going to select, if you can get cloud brushes, grab one of them. A normal brush should work fairly fine. Let's see how these ones look. We're just going to bring out some of this cloud, like so. Just using that brush to bring out the cloud layer from underneath. Set it to screen, and it's just going to make them stand out really nicely. Looks like they're wrapping around the bottom a bit. Yep, that looks pretty good. Okay, then we're going to head up to brightness and contrast again. Lots of layer adjustments. And we are going to mask this to that layer. We're going to set that to -43 and a +83. Click on OK. And then one last little color balance. Start with your shadows, and we're going to have them set to 23, 0, -16. Midtones set to 44, 2, -15, and finally the highlights we're going to set to 5, 5, 22, and click on OK. And let's zoom out, not too far, and you can see that's pretty much the tutorial. Now there are a couple more dragons to add. You add them in exactly the same way as we have done here. Apply exactly the same colouring to them and just Gaussian blur them if they're moving in the background. But you know, the tutorial is really great to follow. I really love the lava trick. That was brilliant. The sky looks really cool, and bringing the lava out of the buildings and just using all the colour techniques and adjustment layers to kind of bring everything together. I think you get a really nice final image. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. I've been Gavin Steele, taking you through how to create a flying land illustration on fire by Constantin over at PST Tuts, and I hope you join us again. Thanks.